And we are back in the Coliseum Gym, Fullerton. This is Milos Šačar. I'm here with Marcelo Caravel on another segment of a fit show. Today we are doing a hamstring. Hamstring is a big muscle group on the end of the back of the leg. And Marcelo is going to demonstrate for us. Turn around, please. There are three portions, major portions of a hamstring that I would like to point out. One is biceps femoris, outer portion. Biceps femoris, right? There is, go a little bit higher. Okay, this would be semitendinosus, big muscle, and underneath would be semimembranosus. So there are three big ones: biceps femoris, semimembranosus, and semitendinosus on top. Do some leg curls. Laying leg curl is major exercise for hamstring. It's basically one joint move, knee flexion, as Marcelo would squeeze the muscle on the way up and control on the way down. He would clearly use only a hamstring group for this movement. Okay, calf gastrocnemius is a little bit involved, but this is the muscle that does this work. So outer portion, biceps femoris is exactly stimulated as Marcelo is showing it right now with outward rotation. So if this is the goal, this part, outer portion of a hamstring, you should rotate your outwards. This is how you're going to stimulate a femoris. If inside portion of the hamstring muscle is more important, semitendinosus and membranosus, it will be inward rotation. And here is again clearly visible for Marcelo. Inside portion is stimulated more. Predominantly, hamstring is a fast-twitch muscle fiber kind of muscle, which is best stimulated with heavy training, low repetition protocols, 6 to 10. Again, it can be done control on the way down. Eccentric portion is always controlled, but concentric can be explosive or controlled, slower with a strong muscle contraction at the top. And that's it, okay? Now let's raise yourself up a little bit. Advance, like this. This is advanced technique. It's between laying and standing hamstring curl. It's much harder to do, try to perform few. You can see it's isolation on a hamstring again. Much harder to do than laying leg curls, but many athletes that try this exercise actually confess to me that this is the way they can feel the hamstring much better. It's advanced movement. If you train for a couple of years, try this variation. It's quite a good exercise. Thank you. So just to stay in this position one more time and tighten up the hamstring. This is portion of the hamstring called biceps femoris. This is semitendinosus, and underneath that would be semimembranosus. Thank you. As hamstring exercises are very limited, we can do laying, standing, and seated leg curls. We can apply this rotation in each and every one of them. So you can do outward rotation for biceps femoris, inward for semitendinosus and semimembranosus. Okay, we're going to now perform the next exercise to show exactly what I was claiming, which would be seated laying hamstring curl. And we are back at the hamstring training. We're going to perform seated hamstring curls. Okay, everything that applies for laying leg curls that I just talked about would apply here as well. If you change the foot positions, that's how we're going to change stimulation of a particular muscle group. So let's go with the straight, feet together. This is overall hamstring developer with a just regular foot position. If you remember what I said, if you do the external rotation, now we're going to involve outer portion of a hamstring muscle, biceps femoris. So outer rotation would use biceps femoris as a primary mover. If you do the inner rotation like this, now semitendinosus and semimembranosus, inside portion of a hamstring muscle would be involved. And that's what Marcelo is doing right now. Characteristic for a seated leg curl is that this is one exercise that we can really involve sartorius. That's the longest muscle on our body, which Marcelo is going to present to us. Okay, shows the muscle. So bodybuilders, especially competitors, would know what I'm talking about. This is the longest muscle. It's like right here, running down. It's very important in the abdominal and thigh shut and some other poses. A lot of professional bodybuilder is famous with the sartorius development, and this is one of the exercises that you can really hit that muscle. Let's go back into the hamstring curl. What Marcelo and I usually do when we train a hamstring, specifically this seated leg curl, we do so-called super slow reps. You know, let's perform this. So actually, I'm forcing Marcelo to do this exercise very, very slow, using zero momentum. Keep going, you know. And particularly this last part of the movement is most important part. He basically just have to touch all the way without slamming the machine. I just have to hear a small little touch, and that will be completion of one rep. Okay, so this is almost static contraction. It's that isotension that he is keeping a continuous muscle tension, not using momentum, not going for explosive power move. It's only like this, exactly. Okay, he's doing even slower than normally now, but point is just slowly touching and then releasing. So that's one little tip for maybe this exercise, as I'm trying to bring variation of a speed and grips and all kinds of stuff for your convenience. Try to find a method of doing any particular exercise that fits you the best. If you don't feel the muscle working, something is wrong. Change some parameters and see how that feels. So seated hamstring curl is isolation move. You can really feel the hamstring muscle. It can be done like this, slow, or it can be normally, exactly like this. Control eccentric, and then concentric can be explosive, fast, moderately fast, or super slow. Feet together, overall hamstring stimulation. Outward rotation is biceps femoris, outer portion of hamstring stimulation, and inward rotation like this would hit the inner portion, semimembranosus, semitendinosus. And another thing is seated laying curl stimulate sartorius, long muscle, very important for competitive bodybuilders. That will be it for seated leg curl. Let's move on to next exercise, which is standing leg curl. And we are at the final segment for leg curl exercises. We did a laying leg curl first, seated leg curl, and now we're going to do the standing leg curl. So Marcelo, let's perform this. Everything that I said previously applies here as well. Different foot positions, different rotation would stimulate different muscle fibers. So starting with straight, you can see Marcelo has a very good hamstring, very defined at this time. And right now it's anatomic chart, you can see everything. So it's perfectly visible right now to see biceps femoris is right here. And it's stimulated more, as we said, by somewhat external rotation. Very important in side chest, side triceps poses, for bodybuilding competition. So if this is main focus for developing in this exercise, just slightly rotate externally. If you want to work on the inner portion, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, as I said, as you can see now clearly, go a little bit more inside. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to do, but this is it. internally rotate as much as possible would work right here, clearly visible. I'm very proud of Marcelo looking like this today. You can see inner portion of a hamstring group of muscle, very, very defined. Semimembranosus, semitendinosus, important in back double biceps, back lat spread poses. Okay, and just regular straight. This would be overall hamstring development. As you can see, with every repetition that Marcelo performs, it's controlled, eccentrically, full stretch, and then we have a variation of concentric, either explosive or slow, moderate speed. One thing that Marcelo and I like to do in this particular exercise is drop set. So on this machine, you can easily lower the weight as he goes. So we can do initially 6 to 8 repetitions with very heavy weight, and then after he performs so many repetitions, he would pile the weight off. Very good exercise. Thank you, Marcelo. And you would just demonstrate, do the side chest pose, so they would know what I'm talking about. Hamstring is very important. That's biceps femoris right here. So that's why if it's not very well developed or defined, try to externally rotate your leg as you're doing any kind of leg curls, laying, seated, or standing. And then inside portion, do the back double biceps pose. For the cameras, right here. If you need to focus more on that part, you can do internal rotation. So that will conclude leg curl exercises. We're going to do another exercise for hamstring, but this was just one joint move, knee flexion in different various positions, seated, standing, and laying. We're going to move on to the next exercise. And to conclude the hamstring training, we're going to do one exercise that involved another joint, not just a knee joint, but also a hip joint. That's a stiff leg deadlift. A very, very common exercise for all the bodybuilders. Great muscle building move because we can use very heavy weight. Just like for a deadlift, we can do this in a stiff leg deadlifts. So Marcelo, let's show the difference. Difference between a powerlifting deadlift, where we use many body parts, but mainly back. We are trying here to isolate hamstring, reduce involvement of any back muscles, erector spinae. So this is exactly, if you're gonna take a look at Marcelo, you can see that he hardly passes his knees. Back is arched. So let's go from a different view. So you can see from a side view that Marcelo is not going all the way down, which a lot of people believe that that way they're going to accomplish better stretch. But what we want to stretch here is a hamstring, not really back. So as long as we arch the back, keep the back tight, we are stretching hamstring to the maximum. So we're not trying to go all the way down, because right now you can see lower back will take over. If he arches the back, this is about maximum stretch on the hamstring. Turn to the other side. So from this perspective, you can maybe see this the best. Arched back. Erector spinae muscles are not excluded. They're still working, but it's reduced because this is where Marcelo is pulling this weight from. Okay? Clearly, you can see hamstring involvement. Now, you can do external rotation. Here you can see a more outer portion of the hamstring. Biceps femoris is working again. Do a few reps. Okay, and now do internal rotation. And here is inside portion, right here. Okay, clearly visible. Inner portion, semimembranosus, semitendinosus. Okay, you can put it down. Yeah, relax. And let's grab those plates, please. So what we did here is a hip flexion move. So it's going with arched back, which is important. A lot of people believe that for hamstring it's important to stretch all the way down. But if you would look, these first few inches, only lower back would work. If I go really like this portion is only lower back. Okay? We want to avoid that. This is not what we want to stimulate. We want to stimulate hamstring. So avoid rolling the back and going all the way down. Avoid rolling the back. Arch your back and stretch completely hamstring. Straight position, overall hamstring development. Outside is femoris, inside is semimembranosus, semitendinosus. Now we can use plates underneath our toes and try to do this. This way we accomplish better stretch. Okay? Now, interestingly, on some MRI research, this particular move supposedly reduces the work of a semitendinosus, which I read several articles about this, but I disagree with this because we can really feel the semitendinosus working here as well. We can accomplish greater stretch, and many bodybuilders use this in their training. Okay, put this down, and then let's bring the this. Finally, this is another way of doing stiff leg deadlifts when we want to include everything else, glutes, lower back, calves, and everything else with hamstring. Okay, I can demonstrate first, and then Marcelo is going to do it as well. It's complete stretch. We go close to the body, roll the back so we can go further, and then up and squeeze the glutes. Looking from the side, it will be like this, all the way, and squeeze the glutes. Okay, and now Marcelo, please, from this angle. Okay. So contrary to the regular stiff leg deadlifts, with arch back now, the goal is to go all the way and strong contraction on the glutes. I use this a lot with the girls when I train female athletes because they're all concerned about their glutes. And this is exercise that tremendously hits gluteus maximus right there. I don't need to touch, right? So, okay, go all the way down. It's complete stretch, and then that will be it. Okay, you can put it down. So that will conclude the hamstring training. We did 3 different variations of leg curls: standing, seated, and laying leg curl. 1 joint move just from knee flexion, and now here using our hips as well. You know, great muscle development in this particular exercise. It's not really isolating, it's a heavy compound move. If you want to isolate, you can do it with 1 leg at a time. Now this is quite complicated, and I can try to perform this as Marcelo didn't really do this. I'm not going to put him in a position. I do this with some of the females that I train, as they usually have a much better balance. Core is in better condition for a woman than for us men, but it could be done with 1 leg at a time. So instead of 2, it would be used just 1, basically with either barbell or a dumbbell, when we would go all the way down and straight up. Okay. And straight up. And doing variety of this stiff leg deadlifts, we will conclude the hamstring training.